What's up guys? In today's video, I'll be giving you all of the best settings for the brand new Chapter 5 of Fortnite. These settings are going to massively increase your FPS and lower your input delay by a ton. They'll give you less visual clutter and make things way easier to see. They'll improve your aim and make it easier to track other players. And they'll just overall give you a competitive advantage. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, make sure you guys stick around for the whole video because there's a lot of stuff to go over. I'll be going through each tab, describing the settings a little bit and giving you guys the best ones. But real quick before we start, if this video does help you, please remember to leave a like and a comment. It helps this video out so much. But now let's just get into the settings. The first thing we need to do is make sure that our game is in DirectX 11 mode so that we can change all the individual settings. And then once we get everything dialed in, we're going to set it back to performance mode. But for right now, you guys need to have DirectX 11 selected. And if you don't, just select it, hit apply, and it'll restart your game and then come back into your settings menu. Window mode, you always want to be on full screen. It gives you the best FPS and least amount of input delay. For resolution, generally, I would just recommend sticking to your monitor's native resolution. I have a 1080p monitor, so for me, that's going to be 1920 by 1080. Just whatever your monitor's native is, that's what I'd recommend for most people. Some stretched reses can be good in this game, but I'm not going to cover that in this video. Depending on how well this video does, I may do a guide in the future, but I've tried a bunch of different ones. And three that I do like are 1800 by 1080, 1728 by 1080, and the really popular 1720 by 1080. I think those are all pretty good. Personally, I wouldn't go any more stretched than that because then you're losing out on a lot of FOV. For VSync, you just want this off at all times. For frame rate limit, if you want the lowest input delay possible, just set this to unlimited. However, if you do want a slightly more smooth experience, then just cap this to your monitor's native refresh rate or whatever you can hold consistently in a fight. For me, what I get consistently in a fight is about 240, but I prefer to play with it unlimited. That coupled with NVIDIA Reflex will give you the least amount of delay. For rendering mode, I already said this earlier, we're going to be switching it to performance mode later. We need to dial in our settings first, so don't worry about this right now. For brightness, I do like to crank this up from the default 100. Your brightness is also going to depend on your colorblind mode. I play Tritanope. This definitely makes the game look the best, but it doesn't have the most advantage. Protanope has a little bit of an advantage over Tritanope, but Deuteranope has the biggest advantage of them all. I just don't use this because I think the game looks pretty ugly like this, but this is a very popular choice with pro players in this game. So for max advantage, use Deuteranope, but if you want your game to look the best, then use Tritanope. But the darker that you go with these colorblind modes, the more you're going to have to put your brightness up. So personally with Deuteranope, I would use 150. Protanope, I would use anywhere from 150 to 130. And then for Tritanope, I just like to use 130%. If you guys don't want to use colorblind mode, I'd still bump that brightness up a little bit. With no colorblind mode, I'd probably play anywhere from like 130 to 150. And I prefer to have my colorblind strength on 5. I feel like that's enough to get the benefits without the game looking too crazy. Motion blur, have this off at all times. Now onto the graphics quality part. Auto set, we're just gonna ignore that. Go to quality presets and we're gonna set it to custom. First thing, anti-aliasing and super resolution. You want this off. Temporal super resolution, just keep this on native. You don't want to use any of these. 3D resolution, set it to 100. Dynamic 3D resolution off. Nanite virtualized geometry off. Shadows off. Global illumination off. Reflections off. The only two I'd recommend changing, and you can also change these when you're in performance mode, are going to be view distance and textures. For view distance, I'd recommend either near or medium. Medium will help you see builds just a little bit farther away, but near will give you the most FPS possible, but you might miss out on a little bit of information. For textures, once again, for the most FPS and lowest delay, you want to keep this on low, but you could also bump this up to medium with virtually no performance hit at all, and it's going to make your textures look a lot better from the low setting. So that's what I like to play on. And then effects on low, post-processing on low. Then we need to come down here, make sure show FPS is on. This will just let you see your FPS in the top right corner of the screen by your map. GPU crash debugging, set this to off. Latency markers off. And then NVIDIA Reflex low latency. We have to set this in here because once you turn performance mode on, you can't change it anymore unless you go back to DirectX 11 mode. I would recommend everybody to at least set this to on. There really are no downsides to it. It's going to lower your input delay a ton. However, if you guys have a really good PC, I'd recommend setting it to on plus boost. If you have a lower end GPU, I probably wouldn't recommend doing this because you're already going to be maxing out your GPU running at 90+% and you don't really need that extra boost. But for those of you with higher end GPUs who aren't seeing full utilization, set this to on plus boost. Report performance stats, just set this to disabled. Now we're just going to click apply and then we're going to go back up. We're going to find our rendering mode. We're going to set this to performance. We're going to hit apply, then just hit restart now. And now once we're back, it should say rendering mode is in performance. So let's go down a little bit. There's a new setting here called meshes. I like to have my meshes on low. Low meshes are going to give you the mobile style builds where they're lower quality and there's less animations going on. High meshes are going to look a little bit better though, and they're easier to see through, but I find them a little bit distracting. Whenever a build is placed with high meshes, there's animations going on when it's being built, and I don't really like that, so I keep it on low. You also get slightly better FPS on low. Now we're going to head over into the audio tab. For main, I usually play on 100. I just have it low for the video purposes. Music, I turn this down because I don't really care about it, but it's just kind of personal preference. Just don't set it too high. Sound effects, keep that on 100. If it's too loud, just adjusting your main volume accordingly. Dialogue, I have it set down a little bit to 50%. Voice chat, I have turned down a little bit just so people in game aren't too loud. Cinematics, I have on 0% just because I don't really care about those. And picture in picture, I just have it on 50%. Most of these don't really matter. Just make sure your sound effects volume is on 100. For sound quality, high is going to sound a little bit better and you might hear a little bit more. However, it's not really going to matter when we have visualized sound effects on, which is this setting right here. So for sound quality, just keep it to low. Low will give you slightly better FPS, nothing crazy. Background audio, I just have it off. For subtitles, just go ahead and click on the options. Subtitles, I have them off. Text size extra small, no border, clear background opacity. Subtitles, you don't really need them. They're just kind of a distraction on your screen. So once you set all that, hit apply and go back. Visualize sound effects. This is a very important setting to have turned on. This is going to let you pick up on things that you might not hear. So say someone's walking at a distance, but there's other stuff that's taking up a lot of sound that's really loud. This will help you see those footsteps or anything else going on. There's going to be visual indicators for everything. This setting gives you a huge advantage, so make sure this is turned on at all times. For audio output device, just set this to whatever you're using for your headphones. Voice chat, I just have it turned off right now. You can turn it on if you want. Voice reporting, set it to off when possible. Voice chat method, I recommend using push to talk. Unless you're playing cross-platform, you probably need open mic then. For voice chat input device, set this to whatever you're using for your microphone. And if you don't have the option in game, I'll show you how to do that real quick. Just come down here to this little sound icon, click on sound settings, scroll down a little bit and go to more sound settings. If you're on Windows 10, I think it's sound control panel. Then go to the recording tab. Then whatever mic you're using, you want to right click it. So I already have mine set, so I'll do a different one for the video purposes. So I would just right click, I would set as default device and set as default communication device. And then Fortnite will recognize that as your default input. For voice chat output device, if you're not hearing voice chat, same thing. We're going to go back into those sound settings, but this time we're going to be in the playback tab. And then whatever you guys are using for your headphones, you want to right click it, same thing as before, set as default device, set as default communication device. The voice chat will be playing through your headphones now. Voice chat notifications, I just have this on. That's the icon that shows up when someone talks. License audio, I just have it on mute others, personal preference. Next, we're going to go into our game settings tab. Matchmaking region, just set this to whatever you get the lowest ping to. So for me, it's going to be NA East. Don't put it on auto because it may put you on a server with slightly worse ping. For language, just set this to whatever your native language is. Toggle sprint, you want to keep this on. Auto open doors, I like to have this on. You don't need it on, I just like to have it. For mantle activation, you want this on hold jump, and hurdle activation, you want this on press jump. If either of these are on hold forward, if you press W, you might accidentally mantle or hurdle over something. Hold the swap pickup, I don't like doing this. I just like to press the button real quick and swap. Toggle targeting, I don't really like this either. I have this off just because I like holding the aim better. Mark danger when targeting, I have this off too. I don't want the game to automatically do a danger ping if I'm ADSing. Sometimes I still want to do regular pings. Auto pickup weapons, you want to turn this on. This will help you pick up guns a lot faster. And preferred item slots, we're going to go to configure. The only two that I like are 1 and 2. I set the first one to my assault rifle and the second one to my shotgun. You don't need to do the other ones with like SMG or like utility because a lot of the times you're going to be swapping those slots up, especially early game. However, AR and shotgun are both really important. And you don't need to set either of these to heals anyways because there's a setting that we're going to change in just a second. So once you guys set that to whatever you want, hit apply, go back, and auto sort consumables to right. I like to have this on. It may be a little bit different for controller players. For reset building choice, just set this to off. This one's kind of important. Disable pre-edit option. Keep this off. Editing is so much better when you have this off. I don't know if anyone's done actual testing, but I've seen probably a million TikToks at this time that say the same thing. Every other settings video I watch says the same thing. It makes triple edits so much easier to do. I've even tried it myself. So if you guys want to be able to edit the fastest you can, leave this off. Turbo building, you want this on, obviously. Auto confirm edits. If you have this off, you're going to have regular editing where no, you press your keybind once to start the edit and once to finish it. If you have it set to edit, you just press your keybind once to start editing. And then once you select your tiles, you just let go of them and it automatically confirms the edit. I like to have edit on release on just because I'm a little bit older. I'm a boomer and it makes me edit a little bit faster. For controller players, I think they need to have it on both. Contextual tips, just turn this off. For extra game options, I have invert view off, invert airborne controls off, turbo delete and creative mode off. These are all personal preference. NVIDIA highlights, you want to turn these off. You don't want NVIDIA highlights going in the background. It's going to eat your FPS. Peripheral lighting, just set this off. Tap to search interact, keep this on so that if you're reviving or searching a chest or something, you don't have to hold the button down. You just press it once. Turn all of these replays off. We don't need them. You're going to get better FPS and lower delay. Make sure all of these are off. Energy saving, put both of these off. Now we're going to head over into the UI tab. First thing, reticle, you want this on. Reticle ammo indicator, I have this set to off just because I can kind of feel when my gun's running out of ammo, and I can also look in the bottom right hand corner. It just saves a little bit of screen clutter. Damage numbers, I like cumulative. I think it looks a little bit cleaner and it's also a little bit less clutter. Reticle damage feedback, I like this on hit only. I don't like hit and icons because the same reason as the ones above. It's a little more visual clutter. Damage number scales, I just like it on 100. For HUD scale, I do like to lower this a little bit because the default HUD is really big and takes up a lot of space. I'd recommend anywhere from 70 to 80%. I think that's kind of the sweet spot. And then most of these are personal preference. I don't like to have spectator count on. You do want a lot of these on, like player health, resources, minimap, quick bar, target info. You don't need pickup loot stream, and map and backpack keys. You can set those off. Elimination feed, you want that on. That's your kill feed. Latency debug stats, you don't need that. Net debug stats, you don't need this, but you could turn it on if you want to. This will show you your ping, and then quest progress, control prompts, and runtime performance, you can keep those off. And then next tab is the touch and motion tab. I don't use any of this, so I just turn everything off or to the lowest. But now we'll go to the mouse and keyboard tab. So in this game, I like to use 1600 DPI 3.5, or it'll be 800 DPI 7. Sensitivity is mostly personal preference, but I do feel like there's a range in this game that you probably want to stick to, and that would be anywhere from 800 DPI 6 to 800 DPI 10. Or if you're in 1600 DPI, that would be 3 to 5%. Even once you start getting up to that higher range, that's kind of pushing it in terms of having a sense that's too fast, but you can kind of make it work in a game like this. I know there's pros who make higher sensitivities and lower sensitivities work, but most of them do fall within that range. Target sensitivity, I like 60%. Same thing for scope sensitivity, mine's 60%. Anywhere from like 50 to 70% I feel comfortable with. So just mess around with that and just find whatever's comfortable for you. Building sense and editing sense for mouse and key, you don't really need these. I've tried out different ones a little bit, like 105 and 110. And if I was to use these, that's probably what I use. I wouldn't go any higher than that, because then it's just going to make your sense feel pretty weird, transitioning between a fast sense and a slow sense. Controller players do use it a lot, but mouse and key, I probably wouldn't recommend using it. And then I have ignore controller input and lock input method as mouse both on, just because I'm not using any double movement software. I just use the double movement that's in the game. So make sure you guys turn use custom diagonals on. And these are my settings. These work pretty well. My forward angle is 65, strafe angle 90, backwards angle is 135. So try these out. With the new movement that they have in this season, it does look a little bit weird. So I've seen a lot of people recommend to set it to 71, and it does make it look a little bit less weird. However, I still prefer keeping it on 90, but you guys definitely do want to be using this. It'll give you that controller movement to where you can move to the side but look forward at the same time. It's going to give you so much more control over your movement. Mouse flight doesn't really matter. I just have it on 100%, and then I have invert aircraft mouse controls off. Next, we'll head over to the keybinds tab. Most of them are preference, but there are a few that I want to talk about. So in this season, it's important. Make sure you have a sprint keybind, obviously, and then force walk. You want to X both of these. You don't want anything in either of these force walk keybinds. These are my combat keybinds. Nothing too important here except for the use. I have used on scroll wheel up as well. This helps you pick up weapons faster out of a chest or something. So if you and someone else are going at a gun, chances are you'll get it first if you use this keybind. And here are my build keybinds. Like I said, don't copy these. They're not optimal at all. But one that is really important to have is scroll wheel reset. So on our secondary keybind for building edit and reset building edit, set that to whatever scroll wheel you didn't use for the interact keybind. So I used up for my interact, so I'm going to use down for scroll wheel reset. It's important to have, so make sure you guys do that. Another important one, switch quick bar. Make sure that this is on a random key that you never press. I've seen probably a million TikToks recommending this. So mine's set to P. I'm never going to hit P in game ever. So set it to something that you will never ever hit. So next we'll go over to the controller tab. I don't use controller, so I just have everything set to the lowest and off. If you guys want good controller settings, just go search those up. There's probably a million videos out there. And then same thing, controller mapping. I don't have any of this set. It's all default. So go look up another video. And then the last tab is going to be the account tab. Player surveys, I like to have these off. Flipping, post party, don't connect that. These right here don't really matter. Most of these don't really matter either, but allow personalization of experience, set that off. Purchase recommendations, set that off. And then personalization of discover recommendations, keep this off too. This will just stop your data from being sent to Epic every time you play the game. And then these two don't really matter, personal preference. Real quick, one more thing before we finish. We're going to enter in a few commands into the Epic launcher. You're going to have to make sure Fortnite is closed before you do this, but you just want to go into your library, scroll down a little bit to Fortnite, click the three dots, and then go to manage. And at the bottom in launch options, you want to paste 3 of these in. I'll have these linked in the description below. And then once you guys do that, you want to X out, but we're going to go back to the 3 dots, come up here to options, and then you want to uninstall the stuff that you don't need. So like Fortnite Save the World, high resolution textures, and DirectX 12 shaders. Uncheck those and make sure you check pre-download streamed assets. This will disable all texture streaming in game, and it'll help your game run a lot smoother. Then once you guys are done with that, just click apply and it'll download and remove things real quick. That's it for the Epic launcher. If any of this stuff helped you, please do leave a like and a comment on the video and subscribe so you don't miss any helpful content in the future. As I said earlier, if this video does well, I might end up making more Fortnite videos. I just know I've had a lot of people asking about my settings, especially people that I play with, so I just had to make this video. I've also seen a lot of other Fortnite settings videos that are kind of misleading and not really optimal, so I just wanted to get a really good guide out there for you guys. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be it from me. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.